You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody. Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream. Have you ever dreamt of hiking the AT? Bruce Matson did, so we're going to follow him every step of the way. Hi everybody, and thanks for finding your way back to Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail Dream, sponsored by Trailtopia and part of the ever-expanding Hiking Radio Network. Remember, you can catch our other shows, Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the Trail Danes podcast, and Dixie live on the Continental Divide Trail whenever you want, with all new shows available in the same spot as soon as they're released. We're 24 episodes into this show, but just 7 weeks into Bruce's hike. He celebrates a big milestone today, and as hikers tend to, he does it with food. He's in his home state of Virginia, where he's going to be for another month or so, and he's at some of the most scenic parts of the trail in the south, including the jaw-droppingly gorgeous Grayson Highlands. There's a bit of wind on the recording, but as always, I've reduced it as much as possible in the editing. Before we get on to Bruce, though, it's breakfast time. When I was hiking, I'd wake up to my alarm, deflate my AirPad and contemplate my blah breakfast. Every morning I poured water into those different coloured paper bags, scrunched around the ingredients, not one of which had any association with fruit, and then eat that soulless gunk. I then find unhydrated powder and sugar in the crevices of the bag. Trailtopia's blueberry oatmeal is a bit of a novelty because it actually has real blueberries. Who'da thunk? No gunk. It tastes great. The bag design ensures complete hydration and it really sets you up for the day. Try Trailtopia Adventure Food, the best of home cooking away from home. So let's hear from Bruce now. We only had the one catch up this week and he was feeling a bit celebratory. Here's Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
All right, I've just checked where you are. You're about nearly 550 miles, aren't you?
We just ate lunch at the barn,
Yep.
which is Atkins, Virginia, as you know. And we were saying we should be about 25% of the way done.
Yes.
And I pulled out the phone, and it says we're at 545.1, which is almost exactly 25% because the AT this year is 2190. So we had a celebratory a quarter way lunch, and I just stepped out. We'd been hiking with some people, and we all had fun at the barn and celebrated finishing the first quarter.
25%. I used to think about it in percentage terms early on. It took a heck of a long time to get past 10%, didn't it? But then once you get going, it really moves on.
Yeah, it's all hard to believe, but it's a beautiful day, and we've had a beautiful week. I had perfect weather through the Grayson Highlands. I had my college roommate come and hike for 2.5 days, and it's just been really great lately. A lot of good people.
Who you been hiking with, Bruce? Is anybody for consistently?
A guy named Scars.
Yeah.
We've been together. I mean, we tented next to each other the first night on the trail. We went over Blood Mountain together. We were in Gatlinburg together, and we were together, at boots off. So I've seen him. You know how it is. I thought he was 10 miles ahead of me yesterday because he went ahead when I was hiking with my old college roommate. And when I left the Mexican restaurant last night in Marion, who's walking up the street to the Mexican restaurant but Scars? So these things are amazing how they happen out here.
It seems to happen out on the trail more than anything else. You get this serendipitous nature of who you might just suddenly bump into. It's just it happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, I've been hiking with a father-son pit boss and play-by-play, and they were part of lunch today, and a couple from Canada. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the same people the last 2 weeks. This has been a lot of fun showing up at
Yeah.
the shelters and all that. So it's been a little warmer, so we've had a little more social time.
But that's what I was thinking. And how social has it been? Has the bubble caught you now, or you're still moving pretty fast? So I suspect the bubble hasn't caught you yet. But are you seeing more and more people these days?
We're starting to. It's just kind of at our tail.
Right.
In fact, this couple from Canada I hiked with today, they were looking at something on the internet, and apparently the last hiker number given out the last couple of days at Emekalola was over 3,200, if you can believe that. So
man.
I'm number 292, and in 46 days, you've got 3,000 additional hikers out here.
There's a lot of people. I'm actually just looking through the map, and the last time we spoke, you were in Damascus, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've gone, and I'm just now looking where you've been.
Yeah, I had some pretty good days. We did 20 day before yesterday because we literally couldn't find a tenting spot, and everyone ended up doing 20 because we were in one of these unusual situations where there wasn't many good options. So we ended up at Trimpey Shelter 2 nights ago. Then my buddy went off the trail at Marion. I went into Marion to get a resupply box.
Yeah.
And out, back out today. And beautiful day, maybe a little warm even.
So what do you think of going over the Grayson Highlands?
It was great. I was so
Isn't it amazing?
pleased. As you know, when we've spoken, I've missed some of the iconic views like Match Patch. And the day, I sent you a couple photos. The day I went over White Top, it was starting to clear in the morning. Of course, after White Top is basically Grayson Highlands. And I was praying that the sun would burn everything away, and by the time midday came, I was at the spur trail to Mount Rogers and at the beginning of the Grayson Highlands, and it just opened up magnificently. So I was really blessed with perfect weather, big blue sky, all through the Grayson Highlands, and it was just an incredible treat. I got to see the ponies and. And my buddy, who was coming out for a couple of days of hiking, he came and actually hiked south to meet me. So he got a chance to spend a couple hours in the Highlands too, and he had never been there. So it was just perfect.
Yeah, I can't quite remember exactly the shelter. It may be I'm looking at it now. The Wise Shelter. I'm not sure. There's a beautiful. You come across past these rocks, and there's a shelter. Then you look at this great view across an expanse of the Highlands. It's only about half a mile, I think, but it goes down low and flat, and then goes up again on the other side. And that's one of my memories of the Grayson Highlands. It was just magnificent up there, and I also went across it in great weather. And it sounds like you're really starting to really feel spring right now. Is that true?
No question. Today's summer. Today it's 78 degrees right now. And fortunately, we didn't have too many climbs. We had probably 3 climbs today, and one was unusually vertical, but fortunately not too long. I definitely was breaking the sweat uphill, but everything else was downhill and flat was actually very pleasant. They're kind of an easier day on balance. And then, of course, it was fun to roll into you remember the old schoolhouse, Settlers Museum.
Oh, I do. Very well, yes.
And, they kind of have permanent trail magic there. So I was able to get a cold drink, which was fun.
I want to ask you about the schoolhouse. Is that where you couldn't find somewhere to stay? You couldn't find somewhere to tent before that?
No, it was earlier. It was... But it was the day.
I slept right outside the schoolhouse because I'd been hiking for 22 miles that day, and I could not find anywhere to stay. There was somebody sick in the shelter, so I had to move on, and I couldn't find anywhere to stay. And I've actually found the schoolhouse. I've never been so relieved to come out to a road. Yeah. I was nervous. It was getting dark.
Oh, it's actually kind of pleasant right there.
Oh yeah, beautiful there. I was delighted.
But we had trouble the day before the 3 miles before Trimpey Shelter. We were trying to find a place, and we just couldn't. And then we had to come down 1,000 feet down to Trimpey. But
yes, yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I was strong enough. I'm glad I was sort of descending at the time rather than climbing. But I think we did just short of 21 that day.
And then you found one of the favourite shelters for a lot of people, partnership shelter, where you could order a pizza. Which always, or just down the road from. Did you stop there at all for lunch?
We stopped there just to say hi. Our friends were there and they had their pizza. But since my buddy was heading back to Pennsylvania, we just went to the visitor center and met our ride. They took me into Marion and they headed up to. They had a long drive.
Sure, that's great.
But we saw the evidence of the pizza delivery. There was a few people there already enjoying the opportunity.
And there's a shower in that shelter, isn't there? I had a shower there. I needed one all the time, but I didn't really need one that day particularly. But because there was a shower, I stripped off and had a shower at the shelter around the back, which was a great thing to do.
It's a beautiful shelter.
Oh yeah, it really is a lovely shelter. Yeah. So you sound like you're really, really physically doing well. Have all those aches and pains stayed away, or are you really, you're really getting into your stride now?
Yeah, I would say I'm getting into my stride. I, had some big days, and they didn't hurt me. I'd say still at the end of the day, the pack I'm ready for the pack to come off. The general fatigue of having those pounds on my back, but I don't have any knee issues or ankle issues, or the hip is fine. The lower back seems to be, again, maybe 90%. I think that's mostly sort of the pack weight. Yeah. I left Marion with 5 days of food, so I felt this morning like my pack was on the heavy side, more heavier than normal. One thing I can tell you for your listeners, I think this is of interest. The Mount Rogers Visitor Center actually has a very nice scale inside, and I've lost 34 pounds.
Oh my gosh, Bruce! I lost weight pretty fast, but that's very fast as well. Do you feel good for it?
Yeah, I feel great. I really do. And I was overweight. I've always been too heavy for a while, but even the last couple months before I left, I gained a little bit. So I don't think no one's going to say I'm dangerously thin yet. So I think it's I knew I would lose weight. I can't say I was out here intending to, but I thought it would be a good benefit of the trip, and I didn't expect to lose this much this quick. But I feel so good, and it's hard to think right now that there's anything bad about that.
Exactly, I quite agree. My wife was horrified how skinny I suddenly became, and it was quite a shock to her. So I hope Cheryl's understanding that you can tell them as much as you like, but they can see what they can see, and you're fit and you're healthy, but you just seem to have lost a lot of weight. And funnily enough, you're going to lose a bit more because if it's getting warmer, you're starting to sweat more. That will help you lose weight as well, won't it?
I agree. I think it's likely. I could see myself losing 50 pounds overall based on having already lost 34.
Yes. So we haven't talked about it yet, really, but you've not had many animal encounters from the conversation we've had in the past. Anything recent at all?
Yeah. Humorously, with my buddy yesterday, we saw 3 deer, and I said, "That's the most wildlife I've seen."
It is amazing, isn't it? Some people seem to see animals all the time. What about snakes? You see many snakes?
Just one back in Irwin on a sunny day, so just one so far. Man. It's been very, very light, but I think it's warming up, and we'll see. We'll see more. We're definitely hearing more songbirds.
Yes.
But yeah, and no one I've been with, and I've been with a number of people now for 46 days. No one thinks there's been any activity in any of our tenting or camping or shelter areas. So I think it's been pretty quiet.
You've had such cold weather, haven't you? So, and I'm sure that's part of it. I remember one day because I used to go through the woods, and it was silent in there. It was one of my biggest surprises in those early days. But of course, the birds are quiet. It's too cold and stuff like that. Then one day it suddenly erupted. You're going to get this as well. Little weasels were sticking their head out, and squirrels are running all over the place, and snakes are around, and it goes from virtually nothing to tons because they're all pleased to be out in the sunshine.
Yeah, that I could easily see that being the case with us because this week is 3 or 4 days of sunshine and over 60 degrees, if not over 70. So I could see those number of days in a row starting to get things to pop a little bit.
And I'm just looking ahead. I remember, I see all these names, I've kind of forgotten about them. And you've got a lovely, lovely walk up to Chestnut Knob Shelter, which is a beautiful hike through meadows, rising and rising and rising. And then you get to the shelter on the top, which is it's a 4-walled building with a door, so you can close the door it's got perspex windows in it as well, so you can actually see out, or you can get light in there rather. And it was one of the better shelters, called Chestnut Knob. And what you do, you then look over the valley below. I think it's called God's Thumbprint, and it's just a magnificent sight. So I'd love to see a picture from that if you get the chance. But that's on about, according to my map, about 565. So maybe nearly 570 miles for you now.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you got some. Yeah, you got some lovely stuff to see coming up. You really have.
Maybe the day after tomorrow, actually. But anyway, yeah.
I think it's a couple of days to get there.
Yeah, a couple of days.
So what are your plans?
Tomorrow is supposed to be good.
What are your plans now? What are you trying to? Are you trying to knock out these miles faster and faster, or is you're just hiking as well as you feel? You feel good, so you're going to do 15, 20 miles.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I feel like I might have been a little too much a slave to my schedule, and sometimes I put in a few extra miles.
Yeah,
and I feel like I've looked at what's up ahead and what obligations I have, and I've actually mapped it out in a way that is a little slower than my schedule and more flexibility in my schedule. So I don't do too many of these 20s, and there's just no rush. I mean, the difference between 4 or 5 days, it just doesn't matter. So I'm actually giving myself more flexibility so I get a little more rest and don't push things. Yeah, so we'll get to Parisburg in 4 days, 5 days, and then about a week later I'll get to the Roanoke area, the McAfee's Knob area.
Yes.
So
you're coming up on that
as
well.
That's kind of what's up ahead, and I think I'll see Cheryl in the Roanoke area. And,
is she going to hike? Is she going to hike with you for a couple of days?
I don't know. We're trying to work that out right now. We've got some friends who want to come out, the same area, the same place. So we might have 3 or 4 couples, and got to figure all that out. If we have 3 or 4 couples, we probably will do less mileage than if it was just Cheryl and me. But we'll figure all that out.
Okay. Well, I've actually also got a question for you, Bruce, from a listener called Carolyn Huff. And she's really enjoying listening to your podcast. And she says she just listened to this week's Catch Up with Bruce. And she said, I have a question for him. I'd love to know which food he is totally sick of now. Now he's got about 500 miles. Also, I'd love to know if there is a food that he didn't expect to become totally obsessed with or most looking forward to during the day.
Okay, so what are these? I will answer the second first, which is I have found that I really like these dried mangoes, and I had originally included them to just get some fruit into my diet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I include those like I include gorp. And I had some dried blueberries and dried cherries. I find the cherries and blueberries to be just really intensive in flavor, and I didn't like them, but I love these mangoes. So I think I'm going to be eating more of these dried mangoes because they're easy to pack, and I have really, really liked them.
Nice. Now, what do you hate?
What do I hate? I'm not sure I hate anything. I think, I guess I would have to say oatmeal is oatmeal, and I'm actually enjoying grits, which are actually not flavored. I'm actually enjoying grits more than oatmeal these days. So there's not much I hate. that'd be a little strong, but I probably could do with less oatmeal and looking for another breakfast substitute. And I've actually enjoyed the grits, instant grits, more than I thought I would. So that's probably the best I can do. I was going to almost said tuna, but the tuna is, we get so many different flavors of tuna. I'm eating a lot of tuna, but I'm not at the stage to say I hate it. But
have you seen any unusual meals out there? Because people are very inventive on the trail, aren't they? They put all sorts of things in wraps, don't they?
They are very inventive. Most people have been the things you would, a lot of, ramen, and nothing jumps to mind terribly unusual, other than maybe quantity sometimes. One time we went into town and I just haven't had this hunger yet, as you know, and this guy got 2 foot long with extra meat on each, and then a Big Mac, and then a large fry, and then a 6-pack of beer. And he kind of roundly criticized me when all I got was a 6-inch and a bag of chips. But
so it still hasn't kicked in for you properly. Then I'm kind of surprised by now, because you really are. You're burning a lot of energy, and you can tell by losing so much weight, obviously.
I know. I think I'm definitely more hungry, but I'm not ravenous. I mean, we just stopped at the barn. I had a salad and a hot dog, and it was great. But that's all I had.
And isn't it also lovely, though, to have guilt-free eating? You literally can eat whatever you want. You can have as little or as much as you want and not worry about putting on any weight at all, can't you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, good to catch up. And we haven't spoken all week, so I'm really pleased we had the chance to obviously talk now. I'll catch up with you again early next week if we can. We'll try to get a couple of catch-ups next week, because I want to hear what you thought of Chestnut Knob. The Chestnut Ridge it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful, long uphill ridge, but absolutely magnificent, leading you to Chestnut Knob Shelter. So remember I said that. You're going to absolutely love it. I can absolutely guarantee you. Good.
Well, I look forward to it.
Okay, mate. Well, I'll catch up with you then, and we'll speak soon. Cheers then.
Very good. Thanks. Cheers.
Bye. He's already lost 34 pounds. This really is the best weight loss program known to man. Expending all that energy, and in Bruce's case, not taking in enough calories to replace it, will result in precipitous weight loss. His hiker hunger must kick in soon. I remember that when I lost a lot of early weight, causing my wife a lot of concern, I calculated that I'd actually disappear by sometime in late August if I carried on dropping the weight at the same rate. For some reason, my dear wife had a bit of a sense of humour failure over that little calculation. Of course, the most important thing is that Bruce feels great, as I did. There is something so euphoric about hiking better, losing weight, and feeling, kind of invulnerable out there. I guess it must be adrenaline or something, but it's certainly an intoxicating feeling. Thanks to Carolyn Huff for a question. She's already sent me her address, so 2 Trailtopia meals should already be on their way to her. Yep, it was certainly oatmeal for me as my worst meal, and it was definitely peanut butter that became an obsession that I've retained since my return. I mentioned the glorious view from Chestnut Knob Shelter. It is known locally as God's Thumbprint, but it's actually a mountain valley called Burke's Garden. It's surrounded by a glorious ridge, much of which AT hikers actually hike around. Bruce is going to love that. Don't forget, you can catch up with Bruce's newsletter at rtkchallenge.com for more information and pictures, and you can plan the food for your next hike by visiting trailtopia.com. So, there's just 75% of the trail to go. He's in his stride, it's warming up, and the sweat fest will be commencing soon. Bruce and I will see you next week.